Behind the marvellous halls and quiet corners of Britain's grandest palaces lie stories of Queen Elizabeth that few have ever glimpsed. From curious keepsakes to unusual habits, each tale offers a glimpse into her passions, comforts, and private moments. Tonight, as a tribute to her life, we'll drift gently through 33 unusual stories from inside the palace, uncovering the small details and personal routines that reveal as much about the Queen as her crown, her duties, and the life she has quietly led. Before we begin this exciting journey through Queen Elizabeth's reign, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, not just for more stories, but because the whispers of royal life need someone to listen. Dim the lights, get comfortable, and allow the pace to slow. And while you're here, feel free to leave a comment letting us know where you're listening from. Is it early in the evening, Manchester, middle of the night in Tampa, or somewhere in between? We greatly appreciate your company during these quiet hours. Now, let's begin. Number 1. The Queen and her corgis. Few aspects of Queen Elizabeth's life are as endearing as her lifelong love for corgis, a passion that began in her childhood and continued throughout her reign. Her first corgi, named Dookie, joined the family when she was just a young princess, and over the decades, her affection for the breed grew into a quiet companionship that brought comfort amid the demands of royal life. These corgis were more than pets. They were companions, confidants, and, in many ways, a bridge between the private and public spheres of the monarchy. Some were inherited from ancestors, while others were carefully chosen by the Queen herself. Each dog was given its own personality, a name, and a place within the royal household, with some even named in honour of palace staff or family members. The Queen's corgis were famously energetic, often accompanied her in palace gardens, and occasionally joined her on official trips. While the cameras captured only glimpses of these beloved dogs, behind closed doors, they were a source of warmth, playfulness, and routine. Staff followed precise protocols to ensure their well-being, from feeding schedules to grooming, reflecting the Queen's gentle but steadfast attention to their care. Even in quieter moments, the corgis provided a subtle sense of normalcy and companionship. They were a reminder that beneath the crown and ceremonial duties, the Queen cherished simple joys, playful interactions, and the loyalty of her canine friends. Tonight, as we drift through stories of palace life, we begin with these loyal companions, whose presence softened the corridors of history and offered a glimpse into the Queen's personal world. Number 2. Royal fashion secrets. Queen Elizabeth's fashion choices were never purely about style. They were carefully orchestrated signals designed to be seen, recognized, and understood from afar. Throughout her reign, the Queen developed a wardrobe that balanced tradition, visibility, and subtle communication, ensuring that her appearance carried meaning even in the briefest public moments. One of the most notable aspects of her fashion strategy was colour. Bright, distinct hues allowed her to stand out in large crowds, whether at garden parties, ceremonial events, or public appearances. Pastels and vivid tones were chosen with care, allowing photographers, attendees, and even distant spectators to spot her immediately. Accessories, including carefully coordinated hats and gloves, reinforced this visibility while maintaining elegance and decorum. Beyond colour, the Queen favoured timeless silhouettes that blended comfort with formality. Her signature suits, often paired with matching hats, provided consistency while respecting the ceremonial demands of the monarchy. Patterns and fabrics were selected with precision, avoiding anything that could distract from the occasion or diminish the subtle messages conveyed through posture, movement, and presence. Even her choice of shoes reflected careful planning. Comfortable yet refined, they allowed her to navigate palace corridors, outdoor events, and official tours gracefully. Every detail, from coat buttons to handbag placement, contributed to a silent, visual language known to courtiers and staff alike. Through these fashion secrets, the Queen demonstrated that clothing could be more than adornment. It could communicate authority, approachability, and attention to tradition without a single word. Tonight, as we explore the unusual and intimate stories from inside the palace, we glimpse how these carefully curated outfits became an extension of her presence, shaping the way the world saw her while preserving the quiet rituals of royal life. Number 3. The crown jewels routine. Behind the grandeur and sparkle of Britain's crown jewels lies a meticulous daily routine, quietly maintained under Queen Elizabeth's watchful eye. These priceless treasures, symbols of monarchy and history, were more than ceremonial artifacts. They represented centuries of tradition, duty, and the weight of the crown itself. Each morning, palace staff would follow strict protocols to ensure the jewels' security, cleanliness, and preservation. The Queen was known to take a personal interest in these routines, checking on arrangements and occasionally inspecting the settings herself. While photographs and ceremonies capture the regalia in public splendor, few glimpse the careful cataloguing, dusting, and protective measures that happen behind the palace doors. The collection includes crowns, scepters, ceremonial swords, and other items steeped in history. Every piece is recorded, maintained, and positioned with precision. Staff adhered to detailed logs, noting condition, placement, and historical significance. Even small adjustments, like repositioning a gem or polishing a surface, were approached with reverence and caution, reflecting both the importance of the objects and the Queen's respect for tradition. Beyond their preservation, the crown jewels were a teaching tool for the Queen and her family, a tangible link to past monarchs and the evolving story of the monarchy. Handling these treasures required patience, knowledge, and a quiet dedication, qualities mirrored in the Queen herself. We glimpse the quiet diligence behind these ceremonial wonders. Through this daily routine, the jewels remind us not only of history and power, but also of the care, respect, and attention that define the private rhythms of royal life. Number 4. Tea rituals. For Queen Elizabeth, tea was more than a beverage. It was a private ritual that offered comfort, routine, and a quiet moment away from the demands of monarchy. Within the walls of Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, tea breaks were carefully timed, prepared with precision, and often accompanied by small, simple snacks that reflected personal taste rather than public expectation. The Queen favoured a selection of teas, including Earl Grey and English breakfast, always brewed to a delicate strength. Staff followed exact procedures to maintain temperature, steeping time, and presentation, ensuring consistency across decades. Cups, saucers, and teaspoons were carefully arranged, often in specific sets that held sentimental or historical value. Even the placement of milk and sugar adhered to quiet conventions known only to palace staff. Beyond preparation, tea was an opportunity for reflection. The Queen often enjoyed these moments alone, using the calm interlude to review notes, read correspondence, or quietly observe the palace grounds. On some occasions, she shared tea with close family members or select guests, creating an intimate space for conversation amid the formalities of royal life. These small routines, though seemingly ordinary, provided stability in a life defined by public scrutiny, ceremonial obligations, and constant attention. They reveal a personal side of the Queen, thoughtful, attentive, and appreciative of the simplest comforts. Her tea rituals remind us that even in the grandeur of monarchy, quiet, intentional moments offer solace, routine, and a glimpse into the rhythms of a life lived under the crown. Number 5. Royal handwriting. Queen Elizabeth's handwriting offers a quiet window into her private world. Known for its neat, precise style, her script reflected a combination of discipline, care, and personal expression rarely seen by the public. Letters, notes, and annotations penned by the Queen reveal not only her thoughts, but also a steady hand that maintained elegance even in the most mundane of tasks. Throughout her reign, the Queen wrote personal notes to family members, staff, and occasionally ordinary citizens, often expressing gratitude, encouragement, or gentle humor. These handwritten messages, small in size but rich in intention, carried warmth and attention to detail, contrasting with the often formal tone of public documents and speeches. Her stationery was carefully chosen, with personalized monograms or symbols subtly reflecting her identity and heritage. Ink, paper quality, and penmanship were all consistent, demonstrating an awareness that even private writing carried a sense of dignity. While aides sometimes assisted with correspondence, the Queen preferred to maintain a hands-on approach, ensuring each note bore her personal touch. Even in moments of routine, handwriting served as a private ritual. Drafting messages, reviewing correspondence, and signing documents allowed for reflection, connecting her to tradition and family alike. In the midst of public life and ceremonial duties, these small acts of writing created quiet, intentional spaces for thought and communication. As we continue exploring 33 unusual stories from inside the palace, the Queen's handwriting reminds us that even in a world of grandeur and formality, personal expression, captured in careful script, can offer a glimpse into the mind, heart, and character of one of Britain's most enduring monarchs. Number 6. Private language with guards. Within the walls of Britain's royal palaces, Queen Elizabeth maintained a subtle, private language with her guards. A series of gestures, signals, and quiet cues understood only by those closest to her. These non-verbal communications allowed her to convey instructions, acknowledge presence, or express approval, without interrupting ceremonies, public events, or daily routines. The system was precise, yet discreet. A subtle tilt of the head, a specific hand motion, or a brief nod could signal a change in protocol, a need for attention, or simply recognition. Guards trained in these cues understood the importance of accuracy and discretion, ensuring that the Queen's wishes were respected quietly and efficiently. This private language extended to moments of leisure as well. During strolls around palace gardens or informal gatherings, small signals allowed the Queen to guide interactions or communicate with staff without drawing attention. Even when moving through large crowds, she could maintain an element of control and comfort through these silent exchanges. These gestures were not just practical, they reflected trust, respect, and a shared understanding between the Queen and her household. They provided a subtle layer of intimacy in a life otherwise defined by ceremony and public visibility. The Queen's private language with her guards reminds us that even in a world of protocol and grandeur, quiet communication can shape daily life, offering control, reassurance, and connection in ways the public rarely glimpses. Number 7. Her passion for modern art. Queen Elizabeth is often associated with tradition and ceremony, yet behind the palace walls she harboured a quiet appreciation for modern and contemporary art. While public appearances emphasised classical portraits and historic pieces, she occasionally visited private exhibitions, explored contemporary galleries, and cultivated a subtle understanding of evolving artistic movements. Her interest was selective and personal. Certain artists, themes, or mediums captured her attention, prompting private viewings or the acquisition of unique pieces for her personal collection. Staff often facilitated discreet visits to exhibitions, ensuring her privacy while allowing her to engage with art in a contemplative, unhurried manner. These moments revealed a side of the Queen rarely seen in public, curious, discerning, and willing to explore beyond the familiar traditions of royal taste. Even within the palace, small gestures reflected this passion. Private collections featured modern pieces arranged thoughtfully alongside classical works, balancing reverence for history with an openness to contemporary creativity. These objects were not simply decorative, they reflected her aesthetic curiosity and her desire to support artistic talent, quietly acknowledging innovation without fanfare. Her passion for modern art reminds us that the Queen's tastes were layered, personal, and occasionally surprising. Beneath the formality and centuries of tradition, she maintained spaces of quiet exploration, where curiosity, beauty, and a private appreciation for creativity quietly flourished. Number 8. Driving privileges. Few aspects of Queen Elizabeth's life reveal her independence quite like her ability to drive. Though often pictured as a figurehead in official vehicles, the Queen secretly learned to navigate her own car, a skill she occasionally exercised behind closed palace gates. Driving offered her a rare taste of freedom, a quiet way to move through her estates unobserved and at her own pace. Her driving privileges were carefully managed. Staff ensured that vehicles were prepared, routes were clear, and privacy maintained, allowing the Queen to enjoy the experience safely. While she never sought public attention for this skill, anecdotes from palace aides confirm that she occasionally took the wheel for short journeys across Windsor grounds or royal estates, combining practicality with personal enjoyment. The Queen's vehicles were often practical as well as ceremonial, including Land Rovers and other trusted cars, maintained meticulously to her exacting standards. Behind the wheel, she exercised the same attention to detail and discipline that defined her public life: smooth handling, calm focus, and an awareness of surroundings that mirrored her approach to duty. Driving was more than transportation. It was a subtle expression of autonomy in a life defined by protocol, public scrutiny, and constant obligations. In these moments, she embraced movement, choice, and a quiet sense of control. The Queen's driving privileges remind us that even in one of the world's most structured and visible lives, small freedoms, like steering a car, offered personal comfort, independence, and a private connection to the wider world. Number 9. Secret pet feeding times. Queen Elizabeth's love for animals extended beyond her famous corgis. Behind the palace gates, she maintained carefully scheduled feeding routines for her pets, rituals that were quietly observed and strictly followed by staff. These routines were not merely functional. They reflected her attentiveness, consistency, and a deep personal connection to the animals in her care. Meals were timed to the minute, with specific dishes and treats prepared according to each pet's preference and dietary needs. Staff learned to anticipate the Queen's presence and preferences, often arranging for quiet, unobtrusive service, so that feeding could proceed without interruption. Some pets had exclusive quarters within the palace grounds, ensuring both comfort and privacy. The Queen's hands-on approach extended to observing her pet's behaviour, noting any changes or preferences, and adjusting routines accordingly. Even amidst a busy schedule filled with ceremonies, state functions, and public appearances, she made time to maintain these quiet, personal rituals. They provided both comfort to her animals and a sense of calm for the Queen herself. These private feeding times reveal a side of her life, often not seen by the public eye. They demonstrate her dedication, patience, and subtle nurturing instincts, showing that even the smallest routines carried significance. The Queen's secret pet feeding times remind us that amidst centuries of tradition, ceremonial duties, and public scrutiny, she maintained spaces of care, attention, and quiet companionship, moments that reveal the human side of monarchy in the softest, most personal ways. Number 10. Birthday traditions. While the public sees grand celebrations and ceremonial events, Queen Elizabeth observed her birthdays with personal, quiet rituals that were far removed from pomp and spectacle. Within the palace walls, she maintained a private approach to marking the passage of another year, balancing tradition with intimate touches that reflected her personality and family bonds. Staff prepared each birthday meticulously, attending to subtle details like preferred flowers, arrangements of gifts, and the timing of meals or tea. Some family members would share small gatherings, often centered around familiar activities rather than formal ceremonies. Cards, handwritten notes, and small tokens exchanged among relatives added a personal dimension, emphasizing connection over public display. Even as queen, she appreciated routine and simplicity. Certain traditions, like reading messages from family or enjoying a favorite dessert at a set time, were maintained quietly, creating continuity amid the ever-changing demands of public life. Personal touches, such as small surprises or thoughtful gestures, reflected both her attentiveness to loved ones and the ways she found joy in private moments. These understated celebrations reveal a monarch who valued reflection, familial connection, and subtle ritual over grandeur. In a life dominated by ceremony and visibility, her birthday traditions offered calm, comfort, and a sense of normalcy, demonstrating that even the most public figures find solace in the small, private joys that mark personal milestones. Number 11. Aviation fascination. Queen Elizabeth developed a quiet fascination with aviation, a passion that went beyond ceremonial air travel or public appearances aboard royal aircraft. She took a personal interest in planes, their mechanics, and the protocols surrounding royal flights, often asking detailed questions and demonstrating a surprisingly deep understanding of aviation history and operations. From early in her reign, she was briefed on aircraft models, safety procedures, and flight logistics. Private tours of airfields, occasional flights alongside pilots, and close involvement in planning royal journeys reflected her hands-on curiosity. Staff recall that she sometimes visited hangars or maintenance areas, not merely for ceremonial appearances, but to observe technology, machinery, and crew routines. Her fascination extended to the broader history of aviation. She followed developments in aircraft design, international air travel, and the evolution of military and commercial planes, maintaining notes and showing an interest in how aviation influenced both the monarchy and global affairs. This knowledge was occasionally leveraged for state visits or diplomatic engagements, giving her a subtle edge in discussions or planning. Aviation offered more than interest. It provided perspective, knowledge, and a quiet connection to modern advancements. It was a space where curiosity and duty intersected, revealing a monarch who was attentive, informed, and personally engaged in the workings of her world. The Queen's appreciation for aviation highlights how even routine aspects of life could become areas of private passion and expertise, blending personal enjoyment with the responsibilities of a lifetime spent at the helm of the monarchy. Number 12. Private gardens. Queen Elizabeth treasured the discreet corners of her palace gardens, spaces carefully curated for quiet reflection and private enjoyment. While the grand lawns and ceremonial grounds were meticulously maintained for public view, secluded garden paths, flower beds, and tucked-away seating areas offered her moments of solitude, away from the constant rhythm of duty and public life. These private gardens were more than decorative. They reflected her personal tastes. Favourites included roses, lilacs, and seasonal blooms that were tended with attention by trusted gardeners. The Queen enjoyed observing plant growth, noting subtle changes, and occasionally selecting new additions herself. Some gardens contained small personal features like benches or fountains, designed for contemplation, reading, or casual conversation with close family. Routine walks in these areas allowed the Queen to balance ceremonial responsibilities with a sense of calm. She often strolled quietly in the early morning or late evening, enjoying the scents, colours, and textures of her surroundings. The gardens were also a private classroom in horticulture. Staff recall her curiosity about plant varieties, pruning methods, and garden design techniques. These secluded spaces offered more than beauty. They provided tranquility, perspective, and personal connection to nature. In a life defined by public scrutiny and ceremonial expectation, the Queen's private gardens were a sanctuary, a place where she could slow down, reflect, and find quiet moments of peace amidst the duties of monarchy. The careful cultivation of these areas mirrored her meticulous attention to detail, showing that even the smallest corners of the palace could hold significance, comfort, and personal joy. Number 14. Personal hobbies. Though much of Queen Elizabeth's life was defined by duty, ceremony, and public expectation, she maintained a range of personal hobbies that offered quiet enjoyment and private satisfaction. From philately to horse riding, these activities provided balance, a way to cultivate personal skills, and moments of respite from the relentless rhythm of royal obligations. Philately, or stamp collecting, was more than a pastime. It reflected her interest in history, geography, and cultural significance, allowing her to connect with both her role and the broader world. She approached it with the same meticulous attention and organization that characterized her approach to governance, carefully cataloguing and preserving each item in her collection. Equestrian pursuits were another enduring passion. Horse riding and attending equestrian events were not only recreational, but also a tradition of royal engagement with rural life. Staff note her calm confidence in the saddle and her deep appreciation for the discipline, training, and connection with the animals. These moments of leisure allowed her to step away from public scrutiny while engaging in a physically and mentally grounding activity. Other hobbies included private reading, walking through estate grounds, and quietly observing art or gardens, each chosen for personal enrichment rather than public display. These pursuits offered reflection, creativity, and a sense of normalcy. Queen Elizabeth's personal hobbies reveal a monarch with layered interests, a dedication to detail, and a desire for private enjoyment alongside public duty. They remind us that even in the life of one of the world's most visible leaders, simple personal passions can provide comfort, joy, and a space to nurture curiosity, skill, and reflection. Number 15. Tea with world leaders. Queen Elizabeth's tea rituals extended beyond personal enjoyment. They also played a subtle role in diplomacy. Throughout her reign, she hosted countless world leaders, prime ministers, and dignitaries for informal tea sessions that combined tradition, politeness, and strategy. While appearing casual, these gatherings were carefully managed, blending royal etiquette with a unique form of soft diplomacy. Tea time offered a rare opportunity for intimate conversation in a relaxed setting. Leaders could share insights, express concerns, or discuss policy outside the formalities of state banquets or official meetings. The Queen's choice of teas, serving order, and even the placement of cups and biscuits were deliberate, reflecting her awareness of protocol while creating a comfortable environment for dialogue. Staff meticulously prepared each session to ensure timing, temperature, and presentation met her precise standards. Anecdotes reveal that the Queen occasionally used these moments to lighten the atmosphere with subtle humour or personal observations, fostering rapport while maintaining her role as host. These gatherings allowed her to connect with leaders on a human level, balancing the weight of monarchy with personal charm and attentiveness. Through tea, the Queen demonstrated that diplomacy could be conducted with quiet elegance, understated influence, and relational nuance. Beyond ceremony, these sessions reflected her understanding of human behaviour, strategy, and the power of small gestures. By blending personal ritual with statecraft, she crafted moments of connection that were both memorable and effective, showing that even something as simple as tea could become an instrument of leadership and a window into the private rhythms of palace life. Number 16. Queen's collection of gifts. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth received an extraordinary array of gifts from foreign dignitaries, government officials, and well-wishers. From intricate artworks to rare antiques, each item was more than a token. It represented diplomacy, respect, and a glimpse into the culture of the giver. Behind the palace walls, the Queen maintained a meticulous record of these gifts, cataloguing, storing, and occasionally displaying them in a way that honoured both their origin and her personal appreciation. Staff managed the careful handling and organisation of these items, ensuring they were preserved under optimal conditions. Some gifts were kept in private quarters, while others were integrated into palace collections or used for ceremonial purposes. Each item had a story, and the Queen often made notes about the giver, occasion, or cultural significance, blending her curiosity with protocol. Her collection revealed not only her attention to detail, but also a subtle form of engagement with the broader world. By documenting these gifts, she maintained a tangible record of relationships, state visits, and historical moments spanning decades. Occasionally, items would serve as conversation starters during meetings or be revisited for research and historical reference, further highlighting their ongoing importance. The Queen's dedication to preserving and understanding her gifts demonstrates a monarch deeply aware of symbolism, culture, and the human connections behind each gesture. Her collection of gifts was more than material. It was a living archive of diplomacy, gratitude, and personal interest, reflecting the quiet diligence and curiosity that shaped her private and public life. Number 17. Secret walks around palaces. While the public often sees the Queen in grand ceremonial settings, she frequently enjoyed quiet, private walks around palace grounds. These strolls, typically in the early morning or late evening, allowed her a rare opportunity for solitude, reflection, and connection with the gardens and landscapes she cherished. Staff were usually kept at a respectful distance, ensuring her privacy while maintaining safety and protocol. These walks were not merely leisure. They provided mental clarity and a sense of normalcy amid a life dominated by public expectation. She would often take familiar routes, noting seasonal changes in plants, observing wildlife, or simply enjoying the calm of the estates. Staff recall that she sometimes engaged in light conversation with a close aide, sharing thoughts or simply enjoying the silence of the early hours. The practice of walking also gave the Queen a physical outlet, maintaining fitness while moving through spaces filled with history and personal significance. Certain paths and corners were known only to her and a trusted few, creating intimate spaces within sprawling palace grounds. These secret walks reveal a monarch who valued introspection, personal rhythm, and private enjoyment. They highlight the ways in which even the busiest and most public lives can benefit from quiet moments alone. By moving gently through her estates, the Queen connected with her surroundings and herself, finding balance, contemplation, and the freedom to enjoy her world on her own terms, away from the ceremonial demands and ever-watchful eyes of the public. Number 18. Her love for humour. Though often seen as a figure of decorum and formality, Queen Elizabeth II possessed a subtle and dry sense of humour that surfaced in private moments. Friends, family, and staff have shared anecdotes of her wit, clever, understated, and delivered with impeccable timing. These glimpses of humour were rarely witnessed by the public, offering a rare window into her personality beyond ceremonial duties. The Queen's humour could take many forms: playful remarks during official events, witty notes or letters to family members, or amusing observations about everyday palace life. Staff recall moments when her comments would quietly lighten a room, drawing smiles without ever breaking the dignity expected of her role. Her jokes were often clever, sometimes self-deprecating, and always measured, revealing intelligence and a keen awareness of context. Even in diplomacy, her sense of humour could serve as a gentle icebreaker, easing tension or creating warmth during formal meetings. In private correspondence, her notes occasionally contained subtle quips or playful phrasing, showing that she could balance responsibility with levity. These glimpses of her love for humour reflect a monarch who, while bearing immense responsibility, never lost the capacity for quiet amusement. They remind us that behind the crown and ceremonies was a person who appreciated wit, laughter, and the small joys of daily life. Her humour, often invisible to the public eye, added depth to her character, showing that even in a life defined by protocol and duty, there was room for private moments of joy, cleverness, and subtle playfulness. Number 19. Royal family nicknames. Queen Elizabeth II had a tender and personal side, that often appeared in the affectionate nicknames she used for her family. While the public saw the formality of titles and protocol, private interactions revealed playful, endearing, and sometimes humorous names that highlighted her close relationships with relatives. These nicknames were rarely, if ever, shared outside the family. They often stemmed from personal habits, childhood traits, or inside jokes developed over years of shared experiences. Staff members who observed these interactions noted the warmth and subtle humour in her voice when using these familiar terms, which contrasted with the composed tone she maintained in public engagements. Nicknames served as more than mere playfulness. They fostered intimacy and connection within the royal household. In correspondence, they occasionally appeared in letters, adding a personal touch that conveyed care and familiarity. Even during formal gatherings, private whispers of these names created small moments of levity and closeness, bridging the gap between duty and familial love. The use of affectionate nicknames reflects a monarch who, despite the weight of ceremony and expectation, valued human connection and personal expression. They reveal Queen Elizabeth as not only a sovereign, but a grandmother, mother, and sister who nurtured relationships with humour and tenderness. Through these private terms of endearment, she created bonds that were uniquely hers, highlighting a side of royalty that was warm, relatable, and deeply personal, yet carefully protected from public view. Number 20. Private balcony appearances. While the Queen was often seen on public balconies during official events, there were rare moments when she chose to appear privately, away from the scrutiny of large crowds. These private balcony appearances offered a unique way to observe palace grounds, ceremonial preparations, or simply enjoy a quiet view without the pressure of formal engagement. Staff recalled that these appearances were brief and carefully timed, allowing her to take in the surroundings, exchange informal greetings with trusted aides, or observe the world below with a sense of calm. Unlike public balcony moments, these private visits allowed for spontaneity, an opportunity to connect with the environment and the people in it in a more relaxed, personal way. The Queen's choice to use balconies privately demonstrated her awareness of perspective, both literally and figuratively. From above, she could observe the movement of the palace grounds, enjoy seasonal changes in the gardens, or simply reflect in quiet solitude. These moments were often interspersed between official duties, providing a small sense of freedom within the structured life of monarchy. Private balcony appearances reveal a sovereign who valued perspective, reflection, and occasional solitude. They highlight the careful balance she maintained between public expectation and personal enjoyment. Even amidst the pressures of royal life, these brief private moments allowed her to observe, reflect, and quietly engage with her world, showing that sometimes the most meaningful experiences exist away from the public gaze. Number 21. Royal car collections. Beyond ceremonial vehicles and official state cars, Queen Elizabeth II maintained a keen personal interest in automobiles. Her fascination extended to a variety of vehicles, from classic Land Rovers to luxurious Bentleys, reflecting both practicality and style. These cars were not simply tools for transport. They were objects of curiosity, pride, and personal preference, meticulously maintained by palace staff. The Queen's collection was notable for its diversity and attention to detail. She often inspected vehicles personally, taking note of maintenance, cleanliness, and readiness for both official duties and private use. Staff observed that she understood mechanical basics, sometimes even accompanying chauffeurs on test drives to ensure vehicles met her exacting standards. This hands-on approach revealed a monarch with practical knowledge, an appreciation for craftsmanship, and a personal connection to the tools that enabled her to navigate both public and private life. Among her favourites were the Land Rovers used for estate visits, valued for durability and reliability, and the elegant Bentleys suited to formal engagements. Each vehicle had a specific purpose, reflecting her blend of practicality and tradition. The Queen's personal car collection showcases a monarch with curiosity, precision, and a sense of personal enjoyment in everyday objects. It reveals how, even within a life dominated by protocol and ceremony, she found avenues for personal expression, interest, and autonomy. Her careful attention to her vehicles reflects broader traits of diligence, appreciation for quality, and an ability to find personal satisfaction in small, tangible ways within the structured world of monarchy. Number 22. Her love for dogs beyond corgis. While Queen Elizabeth II is famously associated with her beloved corgis, her affection for dogs extended well beyond this iconic breed. Throughout her life, she cared for a variety of canine companions, some kept in quieter corners of the palace, away from public attention. These pets were not just status symbols, they provided companionship, comfort, and a sense of continuity in the often structured life of royalty. Staff recall that the Queen took a personal interest in the well-being of all her dogs, overseeing feeding schedules, exercise routines, and medical care. She sometimes named new dogs with playful nods to family, history, or personal anecdotes, reflecting her private enjoyment of these companions. Certain dogs lived semi-privately in palace quarters, giving her opportunities for moments of informal interaction away from ceremonial duties. Her love extended to interacting with animals on estates, including occasional visits to kennels and walking grounds. These interactions demonstrated not only affection, but also a quiet respect for the creatures themselves, reinforcing her reputation as a compassionate and attentive owner. Queen Elizabeth's devotion to her dogs beyond corgis illustrates the personal side of her life, emphasizing companionship, loyalty, and emotional connection. It highlights a monarch who, despite the weight of her duties, valued the comfort and joy animals could provide. These private relationships remind us that even a life defined by ceremony, public expectation, and protocol can be enriched by simple, heartfelt connections, offering moments of intimacy, warmth, and personal fulfillment. Number 23. Collection of rare books. Queen Elizabeth II had a lifelong appreciation for literature and history, which extended into a carefully curated collection of rare and special edition books. This collection spans centuries, encompassing works of historical significance, art, culture, and personal interest. Many volumes were annotated personally or acquired for their unique insights, reflecting both her intellectual curiosity and meticulous attention to detail. The Queen's staff ensured that each book was preserved under optimal conditions, maintaining proper humidity, lighting, and handling procedures. Some volumes were part of palace libraries, while others were kept in private quarters for personal reading. Her interest was not merely for display. She actively engaged with these works, sometimes referencing them in correspondence or in discussions with historians, staff, and visiting dignitaries. Among her collection were rare manuscripts, first editions, and annotated works that shed light on British history, royal lineage, and the arts. Each book carried a story, whether in its content, provenance, or the way it was integrated into the broader palace collection. The Queen's attention to detail extended to cataloguing and preservation, demonstrating a sense of stewardship over history and culture. This rare book collection showcases a monarch who valued knowledge, history, and personal enrichment. It reveals a private side of Queen Elizabeth, one that balanced her public responsibilities with quiet intellectual pursuits. Through these rare volumes, she engaged with the past, cultivated personal interests, and maintained a tangible connection to culture, education, and curiosity, underscoring that even within a life defined by protocol and ceremony, there is room for lifelong learning and personal enrichment. Number 24. Music appreciation. Queen Elizabeth II possessed a profound appreciation for music, ranging from classical compositions to traditional British folk tunes. While her public appearances often featured ceremonial music, her private engagement with music revealed personal tastes and moments of quiet enjoyment within the palace. Staff have noted that she sometimes attended private concerts, listened attentively to recordings, or even discussed musical works with musicians and advisors. Her musical preferences were diverse, including works by composers such as Edward Elgar, Henry Purcell, and contemporary orchestral pieces that captured her interest. She also enjoyed chamber music and small, intimate performances, which allowed her to experience music in a personal, contemplative setting. These occasions were often away from public attention, providing solace and enrichment amid the demands of royal duties. Music played a role in both personal relaxation and cultural engagement. It accompanied private dinners, late-night listening sessions, and moments of reflection in palace rooms or private quarters. Her interest was not superficial. She demonstrated knowledge of composition, history, and performance, sometimes offering insights or asking questions that revealed genuine curiosity and appreciation. The Queen's musical engagement highlights a side of her life where art and personal passion intersected. It reflects her ability to balance public duty with private enrichment, enjoying the universal language of music as both entertainment and inspiration. Her appreciation for music underscores a monarch with refined tastes, personal curiosity, and a quiet, lifelong dedication to cultural pursuits that complemented the grandeur and responsibility of her public life. Number 25. Handmade Christmas cards. Queen Elizabeth II had a tradition of creating personalized Christmas cards for her family, demonstrating a private, creative side rarely seen by the public. While official palace cards circulated widely, the Queen's handmade cards were intimate gestures, reflecting her thoughtfulness and attention to detail. Each card was carefully designed, sometimes incorporating hand-drawn elements, personal messages, or references meaningful to the recipient. Staff who assisted with palace preparations noted that she devoted considerable time to this tradition, reviewing materials, selecting themes, and ensuring that each card conveyed warmth and affection. These handmade creations were often accompanied by handwritten notes, offering blessings, personal reflections, or witty commentary suited to the recipient. The process allowed her to step away from formal obligations and engage in a quiet, reflective activity with direct emotional resonance. This tradition reinforced familial bonds, offering a unique way to communicate affection, humour, and care. It also highlighted her meticulous nature. Nothing was left to chance, and every card reflected personal attention, much like the larger ceremonial details of her reign. These cards were treasured by family members, serving as enduring keepsakes and reminders of her thoughtfulness. Queen Elizabeth's dedication to creating handmade Christmas cards reveals a monarch who valued personal connection, sentiment, and tradition alongside her public responsibilities. These private gestures illuminate her capacity for creativity, warmth, and reflection, showing that even within a life defined by protocol, small, personal acts of kindness and artistry held profound significance. They offer a glimpse into the intimate ways she expressed care, strengthening family bonds and celebrating the holiday season in a truly personal manner. Number 26. Royal Family Anniversaries. Queen Elizabeth II observed family anniversaries with a combination of tradition, personal reflection, and quiet celebration. While public attention often focused on major national events, private anniversaries within the royal family offered a chance for intimate gestures, family bonding, and subtle recognition of milestones. Staff recall that the Queen maintained personal rituals for these occasions, such as sending handwritten notes, arranging small family gatherings, or presenting thoughtful gifts. These gestures emphasize connection over ceremony, offering opportunities to nurture relationships and express appreciation for family members. She sometimes marked anniversaries with specific tokens or activities tied to shared memories, demonstrating an understanding of sentiment and continuity within the family. These personal traditions extended beyond immediate family, occasionally including extended relatives and long-serving staff, reinforcing a sense of loyalty and closeness. The celebrations were modest in scale but rich in meaning, highlighting the Queen's belief that private acknowledgement could carry as much significance as public recognition. Queen Elizabeth's approach to family anniversaries reflects a monarch who balanced the responsibilities of public life with attention to personal relationships. These moments reveal her dedication to preserving intimacy, fostering continuity, and celebrating love, loyalty, and shared history within her family. They provide insight into how she navigated private and public spheres, demonstrating that even amidst the weight of monarchy, the careful acknowledgement of personal number 27, interest in environmental causes. Queen Elizabeth II demonstrated a lifelong commitment to environmental stewardship, long before conservation became a mainstream concern. Her interest in environmental causes extended across the royal estates, public initiatives, and global awareness, reflecting a personal dedication to the protection and preservation of nature. Staff and advisors noted that the Queen took an active role in the management of the estate's landscapes, woodlands, and wildlife habitats. She encouraged sustainable practices, including careful forestry management, wildlife protection, and the maintenance of natural resources. Beyond the palace grounds, she supported public environmental organizations and initiatives, lending the prestige of her position to highlight conservation efforts and responsible stewardship. Her engagement was both practical and symbolic, whether planting trees, supporting ecological research, or raising awareness about endangered species. The Queen combined personal interest with influence, emphasizing that small actions and thoughtful management could have long-term benefits. She also promoted education about nature and sustainability, encouraging younger generations to respect and care for the environment. Queen Elizabeth's dedication to environmental causes underscores a monarch who understood responsibility in both public and personal spheres. It reflects her awareness of the interconnectedness of people, nature, and policy, as well as a willingness to lead by example. Her efforts reveal a quiet but impactful influence, demonstrating that even amidst ceremonial duties and national attention, the Queen prioritized sustainability, preservation, and the long-term health of the planet, offering an enduring legacy of environmental mindfulness and care. Number 28. Private cinema nights. Queen Elizabeth II maintained a private appreciation for film and cinema, using quiet evenings to enjoy movies away from public attention. These private cinema nights offered her moments of relaxation, cultural engagement, and personal reflection within the palace, free from ceremonial obligations and official duties. Staff recall that the Queen carefully curated her viewing selections, often choosing historical dramas, documentaries, or British classics. Occasionally, family members joined her, creating an intimate atmosphere of shared storytelling and discussion. These evenings were meticulously organised, with attention to comfort, sound, and lighting, ensuring an immersive experience without interruption. Her interest in film extended beyond mere entertainment. She appreciated cinematography, storytelling, and the ability of visual media to capture human experience, history, and culture. Discussions with staff and advisors sometimes followed, reflecting her thoughtful approach to understanding narratives, historical accuracy, and the broader context of the works she watched. Private cinema nights highlight the Queen's capacity for personal enjoyment amidst a life of formal duties and public scrutiny. They reveal a monarch who valued quiet, thoughtful engagement with art and culture, using these moments to learn, relax, and connect with family. These evenings provide insight into her personality, curious, reflective, and appreciative of creative expression, demonstrating that even in a world defined by protocol, there was room for private, enriching experiences that offered joy, education, and quiet reprieve from the public eye. Number 29. Unusual travel habits. Queen Elizabeth II had travel routines and preferences that often deviated from standard royal protocol, reflecting her personal inclinations and practical considerations. Whether journeying within the United Kingdom or abroad, she developed habits that optimized comfort, efficiency, and privacy, sometimes surprising those who assumed royal travel followed rigid ceremonial norms. Staff observed that the Queen preferred specific routes, timing, and seating arrangements, often planning trips around personal convenience and security needs. She valued discretion and minimized unnecessary public exposure, even when traveling for official duties. Certain vehicles, planes, or carriages were favored for comfort and familiarity, and she maintained consistent habits regarding luggage, personal effects, and travel companions. Her attention to detail extended to itinerary planning, accommodations, and local arrangements. Whether it involved short visits to royal estates or long-haul international tours, the Queen ensured that her travel schedule allowed time for private reflection and preparation, balancing duty with personal needs. Her habits were discreet yet consistent, demonstrating a meticulous approach to travel logistics that ensured efficiency and comfort without attracting public attention. These unusual travel habits highlight a monarch deeply aware of the challenges and demands of constant movement, while maintaining a focus on personal well-being. They reveal a pragmatic side of Queen Elizabeth, one who valued routine, predictability, and quiet moments amidst global responsibilities. Her travel practices serve as a reminder that even within a life of ceremony and public scrutiny, the Queen prioritized thoughtful planning, discretion, and her own unique approach to the art of moving through the world with both dignity and personal ease. Number 30. Daily exercise routines. Queen Elizabeth II maintained a consistent approach to personal fitness, understanding the importance of health and well-being amid a life of public duty. While her daily routines were largely private, staff and close aides noted that she incorporated moderate exercise and physical activity to maintain energy, balance, and vitality throughout her long reign. Her fitness regimen was subtle but effective, including walking around palace grounds, light stretching, and other low-impact activities suitable for her schedule and responsibilities. These routines were often performed quietly, without fanfare or public display, demonstrating a disciplined approach to health that complemented her public image of composure and stamina. Exercise was not only a physical practice but also a mental one. By maintaining daily activity, the Queen could manage stress, focus her mind, and sustain the energy needed for ceremonial duties, official meetings, and extensive travel. Staff noted that she valued consistency, integrating physical movement into her day naturally rather than as a formal workout. Queen Elizabeth's dedication to daily exercise reveals a monarch who balanced duty with personal care, prioritizing well-being even amid demanding schedules. Her approach reflects an understanding of the interplay between health, longevity, and the responsibilities of monarchy. These routines, though largely private, highlight her discipline, foresight, and commitment to maintaining strength and vitality, offering an example of quiet self-care and resilience behind the grandeur of palace life. Number 31. Midnight library visits. Queen Elizabeth II had a quiet devotion to study and reading, which often led her to explore the palace libraries late at night. Long after the ceremonial duties, official events, and daytime meetings had concluded, she would wander through shelves of historical texts, rare manuscripts, and personal journals, often alone. These midnight library visits provided a private sanctuary where she could reflect, learn, and engage with history in a way few ever observed. Staff recall that the Queen was meticulous during these nocturnal excursions. She would select texts with care, sometimes annotating margins or marking pages for future study. Her interests spanned genealogy, British history, diplomatic archives, and even the personal writings of previous monarchs. This was not merely a casual pastime. It was an extension of her commitment to understanding the lineage, traditions, and responsibilities of her role. The quiet of the palace at night allowed the Queen to immerse herself fully in these studies without interruption. Servants and aides were discreetly aware of her routines but never interfered, recognizing these moments as essential to her intellectual and emotional well-being. These private excursions offered insight into a monarch who balanced public duty with personal curiosity. showing that her reign was as much shaped by reflection and study as it was by ceremony and protocol. Through these midnight visits, Queen Elizabeth demonstrated that knowledge, curiosity, and personal growth remained priorities throughout her life. They offer a rare window into the private habits of a sovereign whose public image often overshadows the thoughtful and deliberate ways she engaged with the world behind closed doors. Number 32. Private philanthropy decisions. While much of Queen Elizabeth II's charitable work was visible to the public, she also engaged in numerous acts of generosity entirely behind the scenes. Beyond official patronages and formal donations, she personally reviewed requests for aid, supported local initiatives, and sometimes intervened to help individuals or organizations anonymously. These private decisions often went unnoticed, allowing her to make a meaningful impact without seeking recognition or publicity. Staff and aides recall that the Queen approached these matters with the same meticulous attention she applied to her official duties. She would consider each request carefully, ensuring that her support addressed genuine need while respecting the dignity of those involved. Discretion was paramount. She preferred to assist quietly, often directing funds or resources in ways that left no public record of her involvement. This hands-on approach to philanthropy reflected her personal values and deep sense of responsibility. While public acts of charity reinforced the monarchy's image, her private contributions demonstrated a sincere commitment to improving lives without fanfare. Whether assisting community programs, cultural institutions, or individual citizens, she ensured her influence was beneficial and unobtrusive. These private philanthropy decisions reveal a queen who balanced the demands of public life with personal compassion. They illustrate a ruler mindful of her power and its potential to effect change, using it discreetly and thoughtfully. In these quiet acts of giving, one sees the human side of monarchy: empathy, care, and a deliberate effort to make a difference beyond the gaze of the public and the press. Number 33. Secret musical talents. Queen Elizabeth II possessed musical abilities and interests that were rarely shared publicly, offering a private window into a creative and playful side of her personality. Beyond attending concerts or royal performances, she reportedly practiced piano and explored other instruments in the quiet of palace rooms. These moments of music-making provided personal relaxation and an opportunity for expressive freedom away from the constant demands of public life. Staff who observed these private sessions noted her focus, dedication, and enjoyment. She approached music with the same meticulous attention to detail that characterized her official duties. Yet these sessions were personal, informal, and unstructured. Occasionally she would experiment with compositions, play familiar pieces from memory, or even attempt to teach family members, revealing a side of the monarch that combined discipline with warmth and humor. Her interest in music extended beyond performance. She had favorite composers and pieces that she would play repeatedly, using music to mark quiet evenings or unwind after busy days. These sessions were often shared only with close family or select aides, emphasizing her desire for privacy and the simple pleasure of music in daily life. The Queen's secret musical talents illustrate a sovereign who balanced ceremonial responsibilities with personal passions. They highlight a monarch capable of quiet creativity, patience, and joy in small private moments. Even behind the grandeur of palace walls, she found ways to engage with art and music on her own terms, demonstrating that her reign was shaped not only by duty and tradition, but also by personal expression and cherished pastimes. As our quiet journey through the unusual and private moments of Queen Elizabeth's life comes to a close, a true heartfelt thank you goes to you, the viewer, for making it all the way to the end. Your curiosity and company during these calm hours are what allow us to explore all corners of history together, slowly and thoughtfully. From corgis to private gardens, midnight library visits to secret musical talents, the life of the Queen is full of surprises, small rituals, and personal passions that often remain unseen behind palace walls. Each story we've shared tonight reveals a monarch who was disciplined, compassionate, playful, and endlessly curious, someone whose private life provides a fascinating contrast to the ceremonial image known to the public. If you enjoyed this gentle dive into Queen Elizabeth's world, please take a moment to like the video. Your engagement helps the channel continue creating calm, relaxing, and informative content like this. And if you haven't yet subscribed, consider joining our quiet community. Subscribing ensures you won't miss future explorations of royal history, intriguing mysteries, and sleep-friendly storytelling designed to transport you to another time. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment letting us know where you're tuning in from and which story tonight captivated you the most. Whether it's late evening in London, early morning in Sydney, or somewhere in between, your presence makes these quiet hours even more special. Thank you again for joining us tonight. May these stories linger in your thoughts as you relax, unwind, and drift gently into sleep.